Hey, welcome back to Stuff I Do. My name's Rob Yates. If you've not been here before, do me a favour once you've watched the video, ring the bell, press the subscribe button, click the little like thingy, really helps me out, star people. Anyway, bored you long enough, you've ordered all this before. Next step in the Beetlejuice bridge build. Now, we're getting close, there's not a lot left to do. Got to do some foliage, we've got to do some fencing, and lots of other bits and bobs. So without further ado, let's crack on. Okay, so as we're moving on, I need to look at this vegetation, these trees, these bushes and so forth. Now just here we see part fencing to stop people from getting down into the river. Presumably there'd be one on either side of this we can't see because of bushes. So I need to look at that. Now these, I don't know what kind of trees these are. I have got some trees, pre-bought ones, so I'll probably use those and just edge them around as best I can, really. So we better make a start on that and see what I've got in my little box. So this is where we left it on last episode. We're all getting there now. We've got some nice greenery down, we've got the road down, we've got the static grass down, we've got the bed of the river painted. All the hut is pretty much done. We're getting there. We are getting there. So, time to move on with the next step. Okay, old popcorn boxy thing. Over time, the more you do, the more things you buy. So I'm accumulating vegetation, trees. I'm sure there's something in here. Oh, what are those lamps have gone? That we can utilise. I'll have a rummage through here, see what we've got, and we'll move on from there. There we go. Then these are the things that I think we're going to need. Got some various sizes in little trees and bushes, etc. I think that's plenty. You don't want to overdo it. There aren't that many in the original photograph anyway. And some nice vegetation. I'm sure I can make full use of that. So we'll see what we're doing, and we'll look at getting them put into the model. Right, so the first thing to decide is which trees are going to go. Now obviously there's going to be no uniformity because there never is in nature. You may have a clump of the same type of trees in the same area, but unless they're planted uniformly, they don't grow that way. That's a human intervention. So looking at the reference photos, they are pretty random. So fortunately, with this being a styrofoam, all I've got to do is punch holes in them, put the trees in, glue them in. So we'll start looking at placement and probably get a couple in, and I'll come back. Okay, just started with this tree, which is the biggest one I'm going to use in this particular instance. And again, judging by the unit, the next one's going to go about here. I'm going to work around. Fortunately, these are really hard stemmed centres, so I can just use those to punch through the polystyrene. Makes a change for things to work out, doesn't it? Like that. So again, just going to place them pretty randomly along this side. And again, some of the areas will be a bit tougher because we put extra layers in there, so a bit like that one. So again, I'll have to get my punch out and do that. So this skewer, that's not staying there. This skewer is about right. Popping holes where I want trees, I think. There we go. That's lovely, right to the bottom. That's super. So again, a few more random trees on this side. There are actually less trees on the other side. So again, I want to get fairly random. So again, using the wooden skewer just to start us off. I will of course take these out afterwards once the placement's correct and glue them all into place. But for the moment I'm going to continue popping these in and then we'll come back. Let's keep again reasonably random. I think we'll have a different colour around there. Just to add a little colour contrast. That's sitting right down there. We are. And finally there is a bush right to the side here. So I'll pop that in there, pop it right the way down. And I'll show you that on the photograph as well. Right, so hopefully now you can see pretty much where we're going. The vegetation starts to make all the difference. Absolutely fabulous. And again, judging it at photographs, I'm going to put some more greenery in there. This is actually real stuff. It's not the artificial trees that you can buy that I've just put in. I actually forget what it's called, but it's actually real greenery. I can't think of the correct name, so I will put a little around these edges and in here to infill here. So I didn't, because in case I need to take that out again to paint the river, which is why I've not covered that in yet. So it's now starting to take shape and looking just like the photograph, I think. So as in the photograph, I mean obviously a little bit more around this way. Maitland's now heading onto the bridge. Vegetation either side. I say it is starting to come together. Obviously I've got this edging to do. I've got to build a board around here to hide all this white. I will paint it as well, in case any shows through. But I think we're actually getting there. Okay, so I am going to use some hot glue to attach some of this real vegetation. I'm going to try and mix up the colours a little bit. I know that's not what's on the photograph. However, I'm just adding a little artistic design to it, for want of a better word. First thing I need to do is move the Maitlands safely before they crash. Pun intended. Okay, so add a little bit of hot glue. And now I have a little bit of vegetation. That's in there, and I'll hold it very quickly. Because of it being the texture that it is, it'll soak it in, and you won't even notice that, like, at all. To make sure we've got no stringy bits floating around, not literally floating around. It's going to add a little bit at the back here. I'm sorry you can't see that, but I'll show you around this side very shortly. Yeah, that's marvellous. Now this stuff does come in various colours, so I'm going to try, as I say, mix it up a little bit and keep a nice variation of colours within our diorama and our bushes. There we go. Again, don't want to overdo it and have to watch for the stringiness of the hot glue. Let's put some of this other colour so we get a nice contrast of colour bush. This is wonderful stuff. Good friend of mine, Debbie, sorted all this out for me. Found it a nice place we can get this from, so very useful. Bless you, Debbie, you really helped me out, as you always do. Thank you for that. There you go. Debbie's one of my work colleagues. My normal work, not my YouTube work. So I think that's all we're going to need. Again, do not want to overdo it. I might put a little bit more on the opposite side, and then we'll call that a day. Here's a final look around. Now all the trees have been glued into place as well. And again, not too much either side. A little bit of overgrowth into the road, as there probably would be. There we go. And again, just like the photograph, the reference photograph, there's not a lot of vegetation in between the trees, so I've not added any more. And as you can see from up above, again, it doesn't need anything else, in my opinion anyway. Okay, so far so good. So now I think what we need to do is start looking at this here. One of the barricades or barriers, small part of fencing, whatever you wish to call it. Presumably there would be some on the other side. I'll just check some of the reference figures for that. Okay, so looking just here, there's one here. I'll need to check the references, cross-reference, to make sure that's not the same one, looking from a different angle, because obviously the Maitlands went into town fine, so we had shots of that. It was on the way back they had an issue. Okay, so just looking on the other side there, so the approach into town. Looks like on this side here there are no barriers, which is a bit strange. However, if there aren't any there, we won't put any there because we do need to make this sign. So I just need to figure out what it says and we'll see if we can make it. Okay, so just got to look at making some of those little fences. Judging by the photographs, just take some little measurements and make a start on those. I think just start by getting a nice straight edge, do some measuring, and then we get some parts cut. Okay, just look at the reference photos. Judging by taking some measurements, I think the length from one end of the top rail to the other is around about 6mm. So that's just under 2.5 inches. That'd be about right. So we're going to need a couple of those, one for each side. Obviously. I think we might need 4 actually. There will be an upper and a lower, no doubt. So I'll get those cut. I'll measure that to 7 because I'm going to cut this end piece off. Right, let's get those done. Right, that's those cross beams done. I think that's it. There's just 2 on each side, but the down structures that support the beams are in various sizes. So we'll need to get those measured up and come back again. Right. So the first side of the bank is about 20mm. So I'm going to measure that in. Then it goes down depending on the height of the thing. So I'm just going to get one in place and then we'll put it up against the diorama and see where we are. There we go, that one's actually in. You can't see the support on this side, but I will show you that in a minute. So I just need to make a measurement because I believe we have 2. I'm going to need one in that vicinity and then another. I might even go into the mud below. Yeah, so we'll have one there. That's about that height. It's just allowing a little bit extra. I'll get that cut because it was leaning on the top of the roof there. That cut we'll be able to see better now. I don't mind a little bit of height above that. That's about right actually. That's super. We'll obviously go behind there. So yeah, might trim that down a little bit, not too sure yet. And of course we need a third one. Excuse me, and which goes about here. So once again, a rough guesstimate about there. Okay, let's get these cut and see how we look. Okay, that's where we are so far. It's pretty much there. Obviously, I'm going to have to stain it or make it look like it's been there a while. But that's pretty much the top and bottom of the first one. I've just got a second rail to pop in just there. But I've seated it in place and while the glue's drying, just so I know it's going to dry properly. So I'll leave that to dry and we'll start on with the other side. Okay, so more clamps on here than I had anticipated, but it needs gluing up while it's in place. What I've actually got is, I'll get my pointy thing. There is a third, fourth even, support here, which is actually on a lower angle to this support here. Because on the reference picture, it has a secondary unit which goes down there. It makes every sense, I suppose. So I'll wait for that to dry. I do apologise. The video of me actually putting this together, I thought was recording. It wasn't. So I'm so sorry. I can't recover that because I just didn't press go. Anyway, we are here, and I'll check to make sure we're fully up to date. It's never happened before. Hopefully won't happen again. Okay, as you can see, that particular fence is now in place. I have sprinkled some ground coverage on it, which so to look like moss has grown where the wood was wet. Wet wood? Yes, wet wood. So just waiting for the other one to dry. So this one's painted. We need another coat yet. Patch up some of the bits that's missing, and then we'll put a little bit of foliage on that and pop that in place. So there we are. That's that side of the bridge put back in as well. Now I've left this piece at the bottom here not painted, because I think I'm just going to put a little bit of foliage there, like something just growing down into the water. Oops, sorry about that, a little bit out of focus. There we are. Just to add a little something, a little bit of growth here that's flowering in and around where the base is. Again, just adds a little something. Wasn't in the film, but I thought it'd look nice together as there. There we go, so they're in place now. I think we're going to call it a day at this point, wrap it up, and we'll get it all finished off next time. Meanwhile, I'll hand you over to Rob. Whoa, so those little fences are a bit fiddly. They kept falling apart on me. You didn't see it as off screen because the camera was playing up and I forgot to press the button once, and anyway, we are where we are. So next time, that's going to be finished. So we've just got little tidying up to do. I've got the riverbed to gloss. I'm going to gloss varnish that, clear varnish, so get a nice shine on that. We're going to do all the signage for the bridge and the entrance to the bridge, and then we're going to do a surround to cover all the white polystyrene on the outside and get that finished. So once again, patience. You are so patient. Thank you so much for following. Thanks for keeping up with me. Do appreciate it. You can still buy me a coffee if you want to. You don't have to. Links in the description below. Stay safe. See you next time.